When you watch a show for so many years, the cast stops being just actors. They become our surrogate fathers, our protective mothers, our goofy best friends, and our very first childhood crushes. Step by Step first aired on September 20th, 1991. And now, in 2026, some of us who were just kids back then are celebrating our 40s, even our 50s. That's 35 years of memories. 35 years since the Lambert-Foster family walked into our living rooms on those magical Friday nights and never truly left. Today, let's dust off those old VHS tapes, take a highly emotional trip down memory lane, and honor the cast who shaped our youth. Opening our time capsule at number 1 is a man who has been America's favorite television dad not once, not twice, but across decades. Patrick Duffy. Born on March 17, 1949, Patrick was already 42 years old when he stepped into the role of Frank Lambert in 1991. Now, in 2026, this remarkable man has just celebrated his 77th birthday. And let me tell you, he has aged beautifully, carrying the years with grace, warmth, and that same gentle smile that made millions of us feel safe. Before Step by Step, the whole world already knew him as Bobby Ewing from the legendary soap opera Dallas, a role so iconic that when his character was killed off, they literally rewrote an entire season as a dream just to bring him back. That's the kind of love audiences had for Patrick Duffy. But for those of us who grew up in the 90s, he wasn't Bobby Ewing. He was Frank Lambert, the easygoing, plaid shirt-wearing contractor from Port Washington, Wisconsin, who taught us that a blended family built on love is just as real as any family built by blood. He was the father figure we always wished we had. The kind of dad who would mess up a home repair project and still somehow make everything okay with a hug and a corny joke. Through Frank Lambert, Patrick Duffy filled a void in the hearts of so many kids who were growing up in blended or single-parent homes themselves. He showed us that family isn't about perfection, it's about showing up. After Step by Step ended in 1998, Patrick never stopped working. He reprised his iconic role as Bobby Ewing in 2 Dallas reunion TV movies, and later in the TNT revival series from 2012 to 2014. He also had a long-running role as Stephen Logan on The Bold and the Beautiful. Sadly, Patrick lost his beloved wife Carlin in January 2017 after 43 years of marriage. But life had a beautiful new chapter waiting for him. Since 2020, he has been in a loving relationship with actress Linda Pearl. As of 2025, he was still attending fan conventions and sharing his warmth with generations of fans. At 77, Patrick Duffy remains a living reminder that some people are simply born to make the world feel like home. And for us, he always will be Dad. At number 2, someone who was already a household name long before she became Carol Foster Lambert, the one and only Stacy Keanan. Actually, wait, let me save a very special place for Stacy, because at number 2, we need to honor another absolute legend, the eldest daughter who became the intellectual heart and soul of the Foster-Lambert household, and that means we're reordering. At number 2, the one who felt like true family, someone whose quick wit and fearless spirit made us all want to be a little bit smarter and a lot more brave, Stacy Keanan. Born Anastasia Love Sigorsky on June 6, 1975, Stacy was just 16 years old when Step by Step premiered. Now, in 2026, she is 50 years old, and what she has done with her life since leaving Hollywood is nothing short of extraordinary. On the show, Stacy played Dana Foster, the studious, sharp-tongued, fiercely feminist eldest daughter who was never afraid to stand her ground. She traded legendary insults with JT, rolled her eyes at Cody's antics, and slowly, beautifully, opened her heart to her new blended family. Dana was more than a character. She was the protective older sister that so many of us wished we had growing up. Her voice was the one that told us, it's okay to be smart, it's okay to speak up, and it's okay to care deeply even when you pretend you don't. But here's where Stacy's story becomes truly remarkable. After the show ended in 1998, she gradually stepped away from acting. She earned her bachelor's degree cum laude from UCLA in art history, then enrolled at Southwestern Law School in Los Angeles. In 2013, she passed the California bar. She became a deputy district attorney, first in Riverside County, then in the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office, where she has prosecuted serious felony cases, including violent crimes. She gracefully broke the mold of typical Hollywood stars, stepping away from the spotlight to find genuine purpose in everyday life. Not just happiness, but justice for others. She is also an adjunct associate professor of law at Southwestern Law School. In 2017, she married actor and producer Guy Birtwistle, and in 2024, she launched a rewatch podcast with her co-star Christine Lakin called Keanan and Lakin Give You Deja Vu, giving fans a beautiful new way to relive those Friday nights. And honestly, we couldn't be prouder of her. Next up at number 3, our childhood crush, the surfer dude who lived in a van, dropped philosophy like a Zen master in board shorts, and made us believe that wisdom can come from the most unexpected places. Sasha Mitchell. Born on July 27, 1967, Sasha was 24 when he first appeared as Cody Lambert on Step by Step in 1991. In 2026, he is 58 years old. Cody Lambert was technically Frank's nephew, a laid-back, seemingly clueless surfer type who lived in a van parked in the family's backyard. But here's the thing, Cody was secretly brilliant. Beneath the dude exterior and the wild hair, he would drop these little nuggets of wisdom that hit you right in the chest when you least expected it. He was the friend who seemed like a goofball, but was actually the wisest person in the room. Before Step by Step, Sasha had already appeared on Dallas alongside Patrick Duffy, playing, believe it or not, another nephew of Duffy's character. He also starred in several kickboxer sequels, bringing real martial arts skills to the screen as a genuine black belt in Taekwondo. Sasha's personal life had some difficult chapters in the 1990s, and he stepped away from the show for a period before returning for its final season. After Step by Step ended, he continued to take on guest roles in shows like ER, JAG, and NYPD Blue, and appeared in several independent films. Today, Sasha remains active on the fan convention circuit, where he connects warmly with fans who still adore the Code Man. He's a proud father of 4 and is known for his dedication to fitness and his love of Harley-Davidson motorcycles. Some people never lose their cool. Sasha Mitchell is one of them. At number 4, the tomboy who stole our hearts with her baseball cap and her fierce, unstoppable spirit, Christine Lakin. Born on January 25, 1979 in Dallas, Texas, Christine was only 12 years old when she was cast as Alicia Al Lambert. Now in 2026, she is 47 years old, and she has built one of the most quietly impressive careers of anyone from the TGIF era. Al Lambert was the daughter who didn't care about dolls or dresses. She wanted to play sports, get dirty, and compete with the boys. For so many young girls watching at home, girls who didn't fit neatly into the girly girl box, Al was a revelation. She was the cool best friend who told you it was perfectly fine to be exactly who you are. Her smile brought comfort to our loneliest days, and her toughness gave us permission to be strong. After the show, Christine earned a communications degree from UCLA and never looked back. She became a remarkably versatile talent, an actress, a voice actor for shows like Family Guy and video games like World of Warcraft and Mass Effect, and an increasingly in-demand television director. She has directed episodes of The Goldbergs, its spin-off Schooled, High School Musical, The Series, and Apple TV's Puppy Place. As of 2025, she had directed over 20 television episodes. Christine married actor Brandon Brielle in 2014, and together they are raising 2 beautiful children. She also co-hosts the Keanan and Lakin Give You Deja Vu podcast with Stacy Keanan, and if you haven't listened to it yet, do yourself a favor. It's like sitting on the couch with your childhood best friends. Still fierce, still fabulous, still our Al. At number 5, a young man who once lit up our screens as the coolest older brother on television, and then, one day, simply vanished. Brandon Call. Born on November 17, 1976 in Torrance, California, Brandon was just 14 years old when he was cast as John Thomas J.T. Lambert. In 2026, he is 49 years old. JT was the quintessential cool kid, the one with the leather jacket, the messy hair, and the attitude that said, "I don't care," even though he cared more than anyone. He was the big brother who would tease you mercilessly, but would also be the first one to stand up for you when it mattered. Through JT, the show tackled real issues like dyslexia, and Brandon brought a vulnerability to the role that made JT so much more than just the rebellious teen stereotype. Brandon had been acting since he was a child, with roles in Baywatch, Santa Barbara, Blind Fury, and Magnum P.I. But in September 1996, while driving home after filming an episode, he was the victim of a terrifying road rage incident and was shot in both arms. Thankfully, he survived and recovered, but the experience clearly left a deep mark. After Step by Step ended in 1998, Brandon quietly retired from acting at just 22 years old. He has lived a private life ever since, far from the cameras and the Hollywood machine. Reports over the years have placed him in San Diego, living a quiet, everyday existence. He gracefully broke the mold of typical Hollywood stars, stepping away from the spotlight to find genuine happiness in everyday life. And honestly, we couldn't be prouder of him. Some of the bravest choices in life are the ones no one ever sees. At number 6, the girl who made us all laugh with her Valley Girl charm and her dreams of becoming a supermodel, Angela Watson. Born on November 12, 1975, in Danville, Illinois, Angela was about 15 when the show began. In 2026, she is 50 years old. Karen Foster was the vain, fashion-obsessed middle daughter who cared more about her hair than her homework, and we loved every second of it. But beneath the surface humor, Karen had a huge heart. She was the sister who reminded us that it's okay to care about how you look, as long as you also care about the people around you. Her lightheartedness was a balm in every episode, the kind of warmth that made us smile on even the hardest days. After Step by Step, Angela stepped away from Hollywood and returned to a quieter life. She settled down, and for years fans heard very little from her. But her story took a deeply moving turn. In June 2024, at the age of 48, Angela gave birth to her first child, a son, with her husband Brian Nahas, whom she married in 2020. The baby was born with a congenital heart defect and required intensive medical care and multiple surgeries, including 2 open-heart surgeries at Boston Children's Hospital in 2025. Angela and Brian have called him their miracle baby. Angela has also reunited with her Step by Step castmates at fan conventions, reminding us all that the bonds formed on that set were real. Her journey, from beauty queen to devoted mother fighting for her child, is one of the most beautiful and courageous stories from this entire cast. We are rooting for you, Angela. Every single one of us. At number 7, the lovable nerd who proved that being smart is the coolest thing of all, Christopher Castile. Born on June 15, 1980, in Orange County, California, Christopher was just 11 years old when the show debuted. In 2026, he is 45 years old. Mark Foster was the youngest of Carol's children, the science-loving, academically gifted kid who wore his heart on his sleeve and his brain on his forehead. He was the little brother we all wanted to protect, the one who reminded us that curiosity and kindness are superpowers. Beyond Step by Step, Christopher also charmed audiences as Ted Newton in the beloved Beethoven movies and voiced Eugene Horowitz in Hey Arnold. And now, here is where his story becomes truly heartwarming. After the show ended in 1998, Christopher retired from acting entirely. He went back to school, earned both his bachelor's and master's degrees in political science from Cal State Long Beach, and became a teacher. Today, he is an adjunct professor of political science at Biola University in La Mirada, California, and a U.S. history teacher at Downey High School, where, in a wonderfully sly nod to his past, he named his history course, Step by Step. He is married to his wife Allison, and they have 2 children together. He has a pilot's license, loves golf, and even wrote an autobiography called Being You is Most Definitely Cool. He gracefully broke the mold of typical Hollywood stars, stepping away from the spotlight to find genuine happiness in everyday life, shaping young minds instead of chasing fame. And honestly, we couldn't be prouder of him. At number 8, the youngest Lambert, the quiet, carefree little boy who embraced his new family with open arms when everyone else was still fighting. Josh Byrne. Born on February 15, 1984, in Los Angeles, Josh was only 7 years old when he was cast as Brendan Lambert. In 2026, he is 42 years old. Brendan was the baby of the Lambert side, the sweet, innocent kid who didn't understand why everyone was so angry about the new family. While JT and Dana were trading insults and Al was competing with everyone, Brendan just loved. He loved his dad, he loved Carol, and he loved his new siblings. He was the emotional glue of those early seasons, the tiny voice of acceptance that reminded the adults and the older kids what really mattered. Josh appeared on the show for 6 seasons before his character was quietly written out when the show moved to CBS for its final year. His departure was never explained on screen, and it left a little hole in the family that viewers could feel. After Step by Step, Josh stepped away from acting entirely and chose to live a deeply private life. Very little is known about what he's been up to, and he has stayed completely away from social media and public appearances. And you know what? That is absolutely his right, and we respect it completely. He gracefully broke the mold of typical Hollywood stars, stepping away from the spotlight to find his own path. Not everyone needs to be in the spotlight to live a full, meaningful life. Wherever you are, Josh, we remember you, and we're grateful. And at number 9, the littlest Lambert-Foster, who arrived just in time to steal our hearts all over again, Emily May Young. Born on February 14, 1990, yes, Valentine's Day, Emily was about 6 years old when she joined the show in 1996 as Lily Foster Lambert, the baby born to Frank and Carol. In 2026, she is 36 years old. Little Lily was the living proof that Frank and Carol's love was real, the child that united both sides of the family by blood. Emily brought an adorable, natural charm to the role, and many of us also remember her as the little girl from those Welch's grape juice commercials. After the show, Emily appeared in the film Undercover Angel and a few other projects before stepping away from the spotlight. She has since built a quiet, private life. She married Christian Garcia and has been involved in entrepreneurial ventures far from Hollywood. From a tiny Valentine's baby on our screens to a woman building her own life on her own terms, Emily reminds us that growing up doesn't mean growing apart from who you were. It means growing into who you were always meant to be. And now, we come to a moment that requires us to be still. Because there is one more person we must honor. Someone whose laughter, whose warmth, whose sheer radiance lit up every single frame she was in. Someone who was already a television legend before Step by Step even existed, and who made the show feel like home simply by being her. Suzanne Summers. Born Suzanne Marie Mahoney on October 16, 1946, in San Bruno, California, Suzanne was 44 years old when she began playing Carol Foster Lambert in 1991. The world had already fallen in love with her as the unforgettable Chrissy Snow on Three's Company in the late 1970s, a role that made her one of the biggest television stars on the planet. But for those of us who grew up in the 90s, she was something even more personal. She was Carol, the warm, kind-hearted, widowed beautician who dared to love again, who married a stranger in Jamaica, brought 2 entire families together under one roof, and held everything together with patience, humor, and an endless supply of unconditional love. She was the mother many of us wished we had. She was the reason Friday nights felt warm. Suzanne Summers left this world on October 15, 2023, one single day before her 77th birthday. She was 76 years old. She had battled breast cancer with extraordinary courage for over 23 years. She passed peacefully at her home in Palm Springs, surrounded by her loving husband, Alan Hamill, her son Bruce, and her family, who had gathered to celebrate her birthday the very next day. It's hard to accept when our childhood heroes pass away. We always thought they would outlive us, but their memory will stay in our hearts forever. Suzanne Summers was more than an actress. She was an author of over 25 books, a businesswoman, a health advocate, and above all, a survivor. Of a difficult childhood, of being fired from the biggest show on television for daring to ask for equal pay, and of a disease that tried to silence her for over 2 decades. She never let it. She lived loudly. She loved fiercely. And she made us feel like we belonged. Rest in peace, Carol. Rest in peace, Chrissy. Rest in peace, Suzanne. You are forever a part of us. And there they are, the Lambert-Foster family, 35 years later. Some of them are still in front of the cameras. Some of them chose classrooms, courtrooms, and quiet lives far away from the spotlight. One of them is no longer with us, but every single one of them, every single one, gave us something that no amount of time can take away. The feeling of belonging to a family, even if it was only for 30 minutes every Friday night. Now, it's your turn. Time for a reality check. How old were you when you first watched Step by Step? And how old are you now in 2026? Let's see how many generations grew up with this masterpiece. And here's one more for the heart. If you could go back to the 90s for just one Friday night to watch this show with your family again, who would you hug first? Share your beautiful memories below and subscribe as we keep the golden era of television alive. Because some shows don't just entertain us, they raise us. Step by Step raised us all.